Alright, so you want to know how I got Tony Robbins' attention in bed in 15 minutes, which, as you know, is a story I tell as part of my keynote speeches, how to turn social media into serious dollars. Alright, so the story goes that I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins, motivational speaker Tony Robbins, and as a speaker myself, I'm big on motivation, inspiration, things like that. And Tony is my all-time idol as a speaker, and my dream as a speaker is to speak on stage with Tony Robbins. So if any of you guys know Tony Robbins out there, tell him I'd love to speak on stage with him, alright? Anyway, so I'm a huge fan of his stuff, and I really spend a lot of time deconstructing what he does, using how he does what he does, because I want to be one day, I want to be like him, and not replace him, because no one can ever be like Tony Robbins, but just really sort of admire what he does and use some of those techniques and craft them into my own presentations and things like that. And I'm obsessed, like on a personal level, I'm obsessed with finding out what makes people valuable. So I understand a lot about what drives Tony. I understand, how he thinks about stuff, and when he jumped on Twitter, I was so happy because I got to engage with him, and he actually started following me because I'm a huge fan, right? And so I was really lucky in that. So anyway, one day, the story goes, one day I'm lying in bed, and I'd just woken up, and I reach over to my phone and I scroll through the tweets, and I see a tweet from Tony Robbins, and it's one of his new videos. And because I'm a huge fan of his, I love seeing his videos, right? And so I'm lying in bed with my iPhone, and I click on the link, and you know what? I couldn't see the video because he hadn't optimized it for iPhone usage. So I got real upset, because I really want to see this video. And so I tweeted back to him and said, I sent him a message saying, hey Tony, hey Tony, you realize that your video cannot be seen by 14 million people around the world. If you want this fixed, give us a call. I'd love to help you, AJ. And I sent that off, threw the phone on the bed, and I went and had a shower, and 15 minutes later I come back and I pick up my phone and I see there's an email message, right? And it's from a Twitter account. So I'm like, Tony Robbins has sent you a direct message. And I thought, what the hell is this? Have I offended him or something? And I hit play on the message, and he tweeted back to me that he wants my contact details because he wants his team to get in touch with me because I can help him solve that problem. So I I almost signed my idol as one of my clients, and that's huge. That's absolutely huge for me. Now, just a disclaimer, I didn't end up signing Tony as a client, and I was more excited by it, but I didn't end up signing him as a client, but I did help him solve his problem, and, he's following me on Twitter, and I've got that open access to him, and I've had conversations with him on Twitter, since then, right? But if you take a look at that strategy, or if you take a look at that entire story, right, what really was the defining factor there that made him want to respond to my message? I could have just said to him, I can't see your video. Can't see your video, and that wouldn't really care. He doesn't really care. But because I spent a lot of time understanding his mindset, him as a person, what he's trying to achieve with his business, and how he rolls out through life, I was able to tell him, that 14 million people around the world could not see it. And why 14 million people? Well, at the time, that was the amount of Apple devices in the world. The Apple iPods, the iPads, the iPhones, none of them, because they have this problem of not being able to play flash videos, right? None of them could actually see his videos. So 14 million people around the world could not see his stuff. Now, Tony's very big on maximizing his message. He wants to get his message out there in the greatest reach possible, right? That's a core driver for him. That's a core belief for him, right? So instantly, I matched my message to his thought process, and that's why I articulated that problem, and this is, again, the fundamental principles of social business. The social media look at that is like, I tweeted Tony Robbins, he wants my details as a client, and if your audience were to go out there and replicate that, and they start tweeting, Madonna and start tweeting Justin Bieber and stuff, he might not reply, she might not reply, but if you articulate to them in their own terms, in their own frame of reference, of course you're going to grab their attention. And an example of this I see all the time is those people on LinkedIn that when they send a new request, they just think that by automatically requesting someone on LinkedIn, they're going to answer them, and they might accept them into their network. But what is the real reason that you're making contact with that person? Frame it up in such a way that you can add value to them, demonstrate that you're going to add value to them, because that's what's really important. How are you adding value to them? When I articulated that to Tony in one tweet, It was about how I could add value to him to solve his problems, to achieve his overall goal. And that's what social business is all about. It's about really understanding what your target market, what your clients and your customers are thinking, and then producing content or messaging people or reaching out to them or whatever, in your strategy to help them understand that. So that's my Tony Robbins story of how I got his attention in bed in 15 minutes.